Hello, hello, CIS. Just a couple reminders as we wrap up our rhetorical analysis and get ready to submit. Here's what your organization should look like. You should have 6 full paragraphs along with a works cited page. In your introduction, you should be talking about situation, purpose, and audience. When and where did the speech take place? Who was the speaker speaking to? Were they a friendly, hostile, neutral audience? All of that can be described in your introduction. You should begin your paper with some type of attention getter. And I think, honestly, the most natural attention getter for this paper would be a direct quote from the speech. Pull out an important quote and throw that on the top of your introduction. Lead into that introduction by maybe explaining who said that quote. That would be a natural little transition from quote into introduction. The last sentence in your introduction should be a 1-sentence thesis statement that explains either which strategy was utilized most in the speech, but more importantly, why the speech was so important and continues to be important today. Body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, you decide the order, but you have to use ethos, pathos, and logos. So I don't care if you go pathos, ethos, logos, logos, ethos, pathos, whichever other organization I haven't listed, but you have to hit all 3. A little tip, usually in speaking or in writing, you hide your weakest point in the middle. So I would start with the strongest of the 3, put your second strongest third there in paragraph 4, and maybe put your weakest as paragraph 3. But you decide the order. Maybe one will naturally blend into the other and you already have that organization structure set up. That's fine. Paragraph 5 either needs to be another rhetorical strategy like allusion, anaphora, metaphor, personification, or if you have a recording of your speech, you can analyze a delivery technique that your speaker used. It could be facial expressions, volume, gestures. Just choose one and focus only on that technique and describe how they used it. Pull out a quote to show where they used that in their speech. And then your conclusion should restate your main points, like all good conclusions. So you should be recovering ethos, pathos, logos, and whatever your additional technique was. And then you should be reiterating your thesis in new words to explain why this speech is so impactful and important, and maybe the lasting impact that it has today. Be sure, just like a speech, be sure that you end with a clincher. Maybe revisit that quote that you addressed as your attention getter. You then should have a works cited page on a brand new page, and I've showed you how to do the citation for a speech on the task sheet. Go back and check there to double check that your citation is correct. No in-text citation necessary for this speech, just the works cited page, please. 1.5 or double spaced, I'm not setting a page minimum or maximum, but I assume if you have 6 paragraphs, generally it's about 2 paragraphs per page, so maybe 3 pages plus 4 for your works cited. That's about how long I anticipate this paper to be. It kind of depends on how long the quotes that you're using are. Go back and watch that lecture on Oreo quotes to lead into your quote smoothly. Use that cream filling for that delicious quote, and then that bottom cookie, the most important part, the analysis. Go back and revisit that. Come up with a creative title. Don't just use the title of the speech. That's plagiarism. The speech has already been written, so you need to be creative and come up with your own title. You could pull out a famous line from the speech. That would be fine. Or just be creative. Take a look at these examples that I have for Patrick Henry. I really like a courageous colonist because it uses alliteration. And you know what college professors really love? Start practicing this now. They love a creative title with a colon, that's the dot dot, followed by a very straightforward subtitle. So my title would be A Courageous Colonist, colon, a rhetorical analysis of Patrick Henry's 1776 address. Oh, that's beautiful. Try something like that. Revisit the rubric that I have posted on the task sheet to make sure that you're ticking all those boxes. Proofread, especially for proper nouns. Capitalize those proper nouns. Anytime you mention your speaker's name, should be capitalized. Now, generally, when we refer to a person in a paper or in a speech, We use their full name and title the first time you talk about them in your introduction or the first time you write about them. Any subsequent mention of that person, you should just be using their last name. So if I am talking about Patrick Henry, I would call him Patrick Henry in the introduction, and then throughout the essay, I would just call him Henry. I would say Henry's use of logos, or Henry continues to say. So just use your author's last name. I highly recommend that you read your paper out loud. If you have a partner, set up a meeting, set up a FaceTime so that you can read it out loud to them. If you have a pet, read it to them. If you have a wall in your house, read it to the wall. It doesn't really matter who you read it to. It just helps you to find those small errors that you wouldn't find normally reading silently. I promise you, you will find something to adjust if you read it out loud. If you want to contact me, I'm happy to sit on a Google meeting and I'll listen to you read your paper out loud. When you're ready, you can submit on Schoology. Only one partner needs to submit. Please include both names to make my reading a little bit easier so I can remember who you're working with. And you should take a look at that similarity check on Schoology. Sometimes it takes an hour or so to load, so submit it, let it sit there, and then look at your similarity check. You'll be able to see your document with highlighted portions where you've used your direct quotes, and that's important. No other part of your paper, aside from the direct quotes, should come up as similar. It should all be your original analysis. So use that as a tool. I'm not trying to trick you here. I want you to use that tool. You can, of course, resubmit up until the deadline. You just have to go back to your original submission, see the little grayed out or black, I believe, up arrow, and then you can resubmit up until the due date. I think after 3 submissions, it won't let you anymore, but hopefully you won't need any more than that. All right, contact me if you have questions. Best of luck. I look forward to reading these.